Congratulations. You've made it to number 5 in the Playbook series under contract. It means you are official, you got your offer, and it's signed and executed. You are under contract. What now? So we'll go over the timeline a little bit of what to expect from when you sign the contract to closing day. There's 3 big kind of hurdles, and then a few little ones here and there. But the 3 big hurdles are the inspection, the appraisal, and then the loan. Obviously, if you have a cash deal, you can get rid of appraisal and loan, which is nice. But those are the 3 main places where stuff falls out. Okay. Firstly, within 2 or 3 days, depending on how the contract's written, earnest money needs to be deposited. Okay, and you can set that. Typically in Denver, we're 1% of purchase price, so obviously $500,000. You can have $5,000 earnest money. That's all negotiable. You can ask for $1. You can ask for $500,000. Whatever you want the earnest money to be is up to you. Typically, it's 1%. That will get deposited either by personal check or wire transfer into the title company that you've selected. They have an escrow account, and they'll hold that there for the buyers and apply that as a credit at closing towards their total closing costs. Inspection, you're going to want that to get done as soon as possible. Okay, so let's say you go under contract on a Monday. Try and get that inspection done by Wednesday or Thursday so that you can have the report back by Friday. Okay, and the reason you want to do that is because you don't want to lose another weekend of showing potential, because obviously most people work Monday through Friday and they're going to go look at houses on Saturday, Sunday. Okay, so if there's something that comes up and the buyer wants to get out, or there's something that you can't agree on to get fixed, and you have to terminate the contract, you don't want to have to wait a whole another weekend to implement our showing strategy where you're doing showings Saturday, Sunday in a compressed window. So once you get that inspection report back, you can, whatever comes up on that, they're going to give you the inspection report and the inspection objection, which is anything that they object to in their sole subjective opinion. It can be something as stupid as a light switch is crooked and we want $10,000 to fix it. What'll happen a lot, this is pro tip for you guys as far as the inspection goes. What people will do is they'll offer, let's say $500,000, we'll keep with that, $500,000 is your purchase price. They'll offer $510 in order to beat out all the other offers. You'll be so excited, $510, that's awesome, great, I was only hoping for $505, phenomenal, okay, we'll take your offer. And then they'll come back at inspection and they will, they'll send you a 37 item inspection objection. They want you to fix everything. Or they want you to take $10,000 off the purchase price. I've seen agents do it all the time, and it's dirty, and I hate it every time that it happens. It does happen, though, so it's something you want to watch out for. Long, tedious inspection objections typically means unreasonable buyer or buyer that's just trying to get back to the price that they actually wanted to pay. You can, again, this is another part of the pricing strategy. If you get the multiple offers, then you can tell these sellers or these buyers, you know what? Yeah, I appreciate you want us to take $10,000 off the purchase price. I've got 2 other buyers that were ready to buy it before you, and they're waiting in the wings ready to go. So I'm actually not going to fix anything. You can take the house as it is, or you feel free to terminate. And you can have your earnest money back. If they actually want to buy the house, that'll set them straight. It's a good way once you're holding the cards, because you're the one with the asset that they want to buy. You can kind of persuade them in that way in order to get them to move the deal along. Okay. Speaking of inspection, property inspectors. Okay, the buyer's going to have their own inspector. Unfortunately, in Colorado, do you want to be an inspector? Congratulations, you're now an inspector. I mean, there's no licensing process. You can get licensed with a national organization and insured, but you can do whatever you want as an inspector, unfortunately. So what I would, I would make sure the inspection report, check into that inspector, make sure he's legit, make sure he's got good reviews. Another thing that you can do, pre-listing. This is another pro tip for inspectors. You can have the property inspected yourself. What I always recommend: property inspection, radon test, sewer scope. Normally that's anywhere between $700 and $1,000, and yes, that's a big expense. But that money, you can use that so effectively because then you know what's actually up with your house. There's no surprises, and you can price your house accordingly in order to entice those buyers, and then they'll come back and they'll go, oh yeah, we saw that the roof's leaking, whatever. Yeah, I actually know that. I understand. I've got a claim in on that, and that's why we priced it the way that we did. And nothing will be a surprise. You don't want surprises. Surprises are great for birthdays. They're not great when you're selling your house. So, lastly, negotiation strategies. You can use this. We talked about at inspection, at appraisal, and at loan as well. There might be objections. When you get to appraisal, like we talked about with the FHA and VA, there might be conditions on the appraised value. What you can do is you can, like we talked about in the selling strategies, seller concessions. This is the scenario where you might have to get into that in order to move the deal along. Okay, if you've done it right, you won't have to go over the top. But let's say for inspection, you get a huge objection report, and they want to you to fix 37 things. Say, great, I'm actually not going to fix anything. But what I will do is, if you agree to take the house as is, I'll give you a $2,500 closing cost credit at closing in order to cover the repairs. And they can do it on their time, on their dime, and you don't have to worry about it. You can just close and go. That's where this is the only spot where I would recommend even talking about seller concessions, is if you have to bring it up in order to keep the deal alive at inspection, appraisal, or loan. But outside of that, we talked about inspection, we talked about appraisal, loan conditions are tough. Sometimes there's unfortunately not a ton that you can do unless it's something like they are only underwriting came back and they're only pre-approved for a $498 purchase price instead of a $500. Then at that point, then you can work with that. But loan is tough. So what I would recommend is getting the loan objection deadlines as early as possible in the deal. Typically, people do them about 3 days before closing because that's the drop dead date for when lenders have to get the numbers out for disclosure reasons. Try and get that a week, 2 weeks even if you can, to where if something happens, then the buyers, even though they might not close their earnest money, they can't get their earnest money back at that point. So, under contract, there's pitfalls. You can avoid them if you're communicative, upfront, and willing to work. So, what I have for you is the vendor contact list. We've talked about it a couple of times. Got some property inspectors if you want to do that. The pre-listing property inspection. I don't do it every time, but if I have concern that there might be something hiding that I don't necessarily know about, and we want to make sure that we're pricing the property right, I will go ahead and do that pre-listing inspection, just so that we have all of the information, then we can make the right decision. So that is pending. We're almost done. We'll talk about closing. We'll see you in the next video.